At 3:04 local time, the mission was already deep into the kind of territory where mistakes don't get second chances. Phantom 21, a B-2 Spirit stealth bomber, cut silently through the darkness, less than an hour from a strike that could cripple a critical missile production line. Everything about the flight profile was calculated to avoid detection. Every angle, every altitude chosen to slip through defenses that were supposed to be blind to it. But something was wrong. Long before the bomber reached its target, an unseen presence had already marked its path. A radar system that wasn't even supposed to exist had begun watching the corridor ahead. The first sign came not from the bomber, but from Venom 11, an EA-18G Growler flying point. Its sensors picked up an emission that didn't fit anything expected. Wrong band, wrong frequency, wrong assumptions. The kind of signal that immediately raises tension inside a cockpit. Within seconds, that anomaly became a confirmed threat. A Chinese-built UHF radar, designed for one specific purpose, finding aircraft like the B-2. And just like that, a mission built on invisibility was no longer invisible. But this was only the beginning of a chain reaction that would unfold faster than anyone expected. 40 miles away, flying in complete silence, Viper 1's F-22 Raptor detected the same signal, but in a very different way. Its passive sensor network, spread across dozens of antennas embedded throughout the aircraft, began piecing together fragments of the emission. Each tiny receiver picked up a slice of the signal, like individual ears catching different sounds in a dark room. Alone, each piece meant little. Together, they built a picture. Within seconds, the Raptor had done what the enemy radar hoped to do: pinpoint a location. A precise grid fix, accurate within tens of meters, was quietly transmitted across the formation without a single word spoken. That was the moment the threat became real. The radar wasn't just searching, it was tracking. And worse, it was operating in a frequency range that bypassed the very design principles that made stealth aircraft effective. The B-2, nearly invisible to conventional systems, was now showing up as something detectable. Not clear, not perfect, but enough. Enough to raise suspicion. Enough to start building a targeting solution. And as more pulses hit the sky, the outline of a ghost began to take shape. But what the radar operators didn't realize was that every pulse they sent out was also revealing their own position. Inside the Growler, the response began instantly, but it wasn't simple. Jamming this kind of radar wasn't like flipping a switch. It was a race against physics itself. UHF signals operate on wavelengths so large that conventional electronic attack struggles to overpower them. It wasn't just noise versus signal. It was scale versus scale. The weapons systems officer worked rapidly, trying to build a jamming profile that could disrupt the radar before it gathered enough data to be dangerous. But the enemy operators were just as aware of the risk. They transmitted in short bursts, carefully timed to avoid detection by anti-radiation missiles. Every pulse was a gamble. Send too long and they'd be targeted. Send too little and they'd lose the track. Still, they pushed their luck. In under 2 minutes, they transmitted everything they had: bearing, altitude, speed, just enough to feed Iran's remaining air defense network. Then they shut down, hoping it was in time. It was. Because the moment those emissions hit the sky, Venom 11 had already made its move. A single call echoed across the formation: Magnum. No hesitation, no delay. The missile was already airborne, already accelerating toward the radar's last known position. And this time, shutting down the radar wouldn't save them. The AGM-88G didn't need the radar to stay on. It remembered. That was the difference. Older systems relied on continuous signals, but this one carried its own memory. GPS and inertial guidance locked onto the exact coordinates of the last emission. The radar operators had done everything right, except for one thing: they stayed active just a few seconds too long. The missile closed the distance at supersonic speed, and within moments the system built to detect stealth aircraft was gone, reduced to debris scattered across the terrain. It should have been the end of the threat, but it was, because in those final seconds the radar had already passed its data along. Buried fiber optic lines carried that information south to a system that had been waiting in silence. A BAVAR 373 battery, hidden and untouched, suddenly came alive. For days, its crew had remained still, watching as other defenses were eliminated one by one. They had chosen patience over action, and now they had exactly what they needed: a direction, an altitude, and a target worth everything. Within moments, a decision was made: power on, track, fire if possible, one chance, one trade. And far above them, Phantom 21 had no idea that the real threat was only just beginning to wake up. The moment the BAVAR system powered up, the entire battlefield shifted again. Inside the B-2, alarms lit up instantly as the defensive systems detected a new fire control radar locking onto their position. This wasn't a search radar. This was something far more dangerous, a system designed to guide missiles directly to a target. The crew immediately understood the situation. The previous strike hadn't eliminated the threat, it had triggered it. The Growler pivoted fast, retuning its advanced jammer to the new frequency, but this wasn't a smooth transition. Different radar, different waveform, different problem. Seconds mattered now, and those seconds were slipping. The Iranian battery began refining its track, building a firing solution from incomplete data. It didn't need perfection, just enough accuracy to launch. And then it happened. A missile left the rail. The Sayyad-4 interceptor accelerated rapidly, climbing toward the bomber with lethal intent. Now the engagement became a race. One missile inbound, one countermeasure already in motion. Another anti-radiation missile was launched toward the radar, but it wouldn't arrive in time to stop the first shot. For the first time in the mission, Phantom 21 wasn't just being tracked, it was being hunted. As the interceptor climbed, everything depended on timing. The radar guiding it was under heavy electronic attack, its signal smeared and distorted by the Growler's jamming. But even degraded, it was enough. The missile didn't need perfect guidance, just direction. Meanwhile, the counterstrike was already closing in. The anti-radiation missile raced toward the radar site, seconds away from impact. But the engagement had already reached a critical point. The interceptor was airborne, coasting toward where the bomber had been seconds earlier. Then, just as quickly as it began, the radar guiding it disappeared, destroyed by the incoming strike. The battery was gone, but the missile remained. Now it was flying blind, relying on its internal guidance until its own seeker could activate. Somewhere in the darkness, it would decide when to turn on. And when it did, it would search for a target in the exact frequency range the B-2 was designed to defeat. The outcome would depend on a single moment, the instant the seeker woke up, and that moment was getting closer. Inside Phantom 21, the situation became even more dangerous as the countdown to weapons release approached. The crew faced a problem they couldn't fully control. To strike the target, they had to open the bomb bay doors, briefly exposing the aircraft in a way that increased its visibility. For 12 seconds, the stealth advantage would shrink dramatically. And somewhere out there, a missile was closing in, waiting for the perfect moment to find them. The Growler prepared its final defense, locking onto the expected seeker frequency, ready to flood it with interference the instant it activated. But until that happened, there was nothing to jam. The missile remained unpredictable, silent, and dangerous. As the countdown reached its final seconds, the pilot took manual control, ready to react instantly if the situation changed. Then the doors opened. The aircraft's radar signature expanded, just as the missile entered its terminal phase. And right on cue, the seeker activated. But it didn't find clarity, it found chaos. The Growler unleashed its full jamming power, overwhelming the seeker with noise before it could form a stable track. The missile searched, recalculated, and failed. It had nothing solid to lock onto. Seconds later, the engagement was over. The missile, unable to confirm a target, continued forward briefly before self-destructing in the darkness. A near miss, but still a miss. Phantom 21 completed its mission, releasing all 16 precision-guided bombs onto the target below. The impact was devastating. Critical infrastructure was destroyed in seconds. Facilities that took years to build erased in moments. The mission had succeeded, but not without revealing a harsh reality. Even the most advanced stealth aircraft in the world could be challenged under the right conditions. The combination of unconventional radar, patient tactics, and layered defenses had nearly changed the outcome. And for a brief window of time, the balance had shifted. But in the end, speed, coordination, and technology pulled it back. What happened in those few minutes wasn't just a strike. It was a glimpse into how modern air warfare is evolving. And next time, the margin for error might be even smaller.